The state of Oregon has effectively shut down small farms and market gardens on a large scale.
A drone flew over an Oregon farm, and what it captured terrified everyone. Once celebrated for its lush farmlands, Oregon now faces paranormal nightcrawlers that destroy the harvest, combined with harsh government rules that shut down small farms and local gardens. Long before settlers arrived, indigenous tribes mastered farming here, yet they also left an everlasting curse. Why was the drone found torn apart after capturing such horrific footage? Let us reveal why nobody wants to set foot on the farm ever again. The lethal shadow over small farms. Once celebrated for its fertile farmlands, Oregon has come under a harsh government crackdown. Authorities are now sending stop notices to small farms and local gardens, casting a shadow of doubt and worry among the farmers. This area, historically known for its abundant and diverse crops, from juicy berries to fresh seafood, is now seeing its small-scale cultivators forced to close. The region's agricultural success dates back to long before European settlers arrived. Indigenous tribes had already honed farming techniques, cultivating native plants, and managing the land with techniques like controlled burns. When settlers arrived via the Oregon Trail in the 1800s, they brought new farming methods, and the Willamette Valley soon became a key agricultural center. Advances such as better irrigation and railroad connections helped Oregon's farms flourish, known for their fruit orchards and, later, a thriving wine industry. The bigger picture shows that Oregon's farms are not just battling new regulations. The spread of cities and towns into farmlands, urbanization, is eating away at agricultural space, adding to the troubles faced by farmers. Water rights, rules about who can use water and how much, are also causing conflicts and confusion. Despite efforts by programs like the Oregon Agricultural Heritage Program, which aims to support sustainable farming and conserve farmland, the challenges loom large. These programs offer some help, but they often feel too small to really change the tough conditions farmers face. Farmers in Oregon are increasingly caught in a web of strict rules that dictate how they can use water, a situation that could easily break many small operations. Consider Del Campo of Oak Song Farm, located near Eugene. Her farm covers just over half an acre and has relied on well water to grow vegetables for nearly 7 years. These vegetables are her main source of income, sold at local farmers markets and directly to people living nearby. But in September, a serious problem arose. The Oregon Water Resources Department sent a notice that said without a water right, she couldn't legally water her commercial crops. You would think water rights would be straightforward, but in Oregon, it's a complex system where the state owns the water, and you need government approval for almost any significant use. There are some exceptions, like using up to 5,000 gallons per day for certain non-agricultural activities, but using water for crops isn't one of them. The letter to Oak Song Farm was not a one-off. It was one of 24 similar notices issued last year. Some recipients managed to prove they were following the rules, which makes you wonder, is this policy fair, or is it overkill? The system, based on the idea of first in time, first in right, supposedly gives priority to essential uses like city water supplies and industrial uses. Yet here was Del Campo, feeling like she was being treated as a criminal just for trying to grow food. The frustration among small farm owners is growing. Advocates for these farmers point out the exemptions and confusing rules that can easily mislead even the most knowledgeable landowners. Del Campo's situation highlights this confusion. Despite using less than 1,000 gallons a day, she's caught up in bureaucracy, trying to get permission to draw water from a nearby creek, a project that could come with costs she may not be able to afford. Getting water rights is a notoriously slow process, often taking more than a year. Some farmers invest money and wait, only to be told 18 months later that they must stop their operations if they are not lucky enough to get the rights. However, small-scale farmers do have some alternatives, such as watering a non-commercial half-acre or collecting rainwater for commercial use without needing permits. Another method is dry farming, which depends on moisture retained in the soil from the rainy season, though it's a significant change from usual farming techniques. As night falls, uncertainty looms over Oregon's farms. Oregon's farmers at a devastating crossroad. The environment for Oregon's small-scale farmers is changing rapidly, filled with legal disputes and a widespread uncertainty about the future. Many are forced to scramble to adjust to these new rules, which could take several seasons and a lot of money to implement properly. As the state tightens its control over water use, the pressure on these farmers grows, threatening the survival of local agriculture and pushing the community into a situation full of legal fights and financial difficulties. As Oregon's farming community tries to adapt, the stability and future of local agriculture remain uncertain, tangled in government policy and fear. The first major problem comes from changes in the definition of concentrated animal feeding operations. This redefinition has extended its reach, now including more farms under its umbrella. This means more farms are now subject to strict oversight and have to adhere to tougher standards. These new requirements are difficult and costly to meet, putting additional financial strain on farmers. The second issue relates to severe water regulations introduced in response to increasing water shortages. These regulations aim to manage and conserve water use in farming carefully. However, many small farmers see these rules as overly strict, who argue that they are unreasonable and impose heavy burdens on their operations. These two issues together put small farmers in a precarious position. They face the real threat of having to shut down due to what they see as excessive interference from the government. The added regulations and rising costs are making it increasingly difficult for them to maintain their farms, leading many to worry about whether they can continue farming in the future. In Oregon, the redefinition of small family farms as CAFOs has stirred significant confusion and upset. This change has been made with vague standards, causing small family-run farms to be unfairly grouped with much larger industrial operations. This sudden shift has left many farmers feeling unfairly targeted and unsure how to comply with the new set of rules now applicable to them. As a consequence, some farmers have begun to seek legal ways to fight against these changes, arguing that the expanded CAFO definition unfairly includes those who can least afford to meet the new regulations. New challenges arise, complicating life for farmers. The decline of Oregon's family farms. The state's strict policies have already forced many small farms to close. These closures are not merely numbers on a page. They represent real families losing their income sources and ways of life. Officials are using advanced satellite technology to enforce these closures, issuing cease and desist orders that effectively force farmers to stop their operations. This aggressive enforcement has led to a significant backlash from the farming community, who feel their lifestyles and business practices are being unfairly attacked and restricted. The government's heavy-handed approach is seen as out of touch with the realities faced by small-scale farmers. Small farms in Oregon are particularly vulnerable due to several factors. They often operate on thin margins, meaning any change in the market or an increase in costs can have dramatic effects. They also rely heavily on local markets and community support, which makes them more sensitive to any new policies or economic shifts. These challenges highlight the difficult environment in which small farmers are trying to survive, where they are frequently disadvantaged compared to larger agricultural enterprises. In Oregon, small farms are struggling to compete with larger operations. These smaller farms lack the resources and efficiency to match the lower production costs and wider distribution capabilities of their bigger counterparts. The situation has worsened due to Oregon's stringent water rights policies. The state has enacted rules that treat all groundwater, including that on private farms, as a public resource. This regulation severely affects small farms by restricting their access to water for irrigation, crucial for their crops and livestock. As the debate over these regulations continues, the future of small-scale farming in Oregon hangs in the balance. The results of this legal battle could influence agricultural policies and water rights not just in Oregon, but across the entire United States, highlighting the importance of this fight for the survival of small farms. The issue also involves the classification of these small farms as concentrated animal feeding operations, which many farmers argue does not accurately reflect their operations. Unlike CAFOs, which house thousands of animals in confined spaces, small farms generally have fewer animals and use more humane and environmentally friendly farming practices. These include rotational grazing and pasture-based livestock rearing, which are better for both the animals and the environment. Small farms are an integral part of their communities, contributing to local economies and food security by providing fresh, locally produced food. They help preserve traditional farming practices, which are at risk of being lost amidst modern industrial agricultural methods. On the other hand, CAFOs are associated with negative environmental impacts due to the large amounts of waste produced, the potential pollution of surrounding areas, and the stress and disease prevalent among animals living in crowded conditions. These issues necessitate the use of antibiotics and other treatments to maintain animal health. Farmers face tough choices that will decide their future. The hidden cost of regulatory overreach in Oregon. Oregon's recent laws regulating CAFOs have unintentionally placed a disproportionate burden on small and family-owned farms. These farms now face significant difficulties in meeting the new, more stringent regulations designed with larger operations in mind. This has led to increased costs, as small farms must modify their practices and infrastructure to comply with these regulatory standards. In a similar situation, California is currently dealing with water problems due to a severe drought. About 2,500 farmers are facing severe cutbacks, receiving only 10% of the water they normally would. This drastic reduction has left many agricultural workers worried about whether they can continue their farming practices. They are now forced to come up with new ways to save water, all while facing uncertainty about the future of their crops and businesses. Since 2000, the number of farmers in California has decreased noticeably. This trend is concerning to agricultural experts and policymakers because the rate at which farmers are leaving is faster than ever before, highlighting the severe challenges they face in continuing their farming activities. The agriculture sector, once a key part of California's economy, is slowly deteriorating, putting many farmers and their families in a difficult and unstable situation. This ongoing issue is made worse by the persistent drought conditions that have hit the region in recent years. The continuous lack of rain makes it extremely difficult for farmers to keep their operations running and remain financially viable. While California's situation is serious, it does not compare to the crisis in Oregon. In Oregon, the problems are even more severe and involve clear power struggles. Authorities are overtly taking control of water resources and imposing strict rules. This aggressive interference is causing major disruptions, especially affecting dairy farms and chicken farms, forcing many to shut down permanently. The local community is upset as these actions severely impact the livelihoods of many hardworking people. Although officials claim these measures protect groundwater, they are causing significant damage to the local economy and harming those who rely on these farms for their income. Furthermore, the claim that farmers have not polluted the water adds insult to injury, highlighting the irony and frustration of the situation. These farmers are not only battling natural challenges like drought, but also facing unnecessary hurdles created by human decisions. This combination of natural and regulatory challenges presents a grim outlook for the farmers, who are struggling to adapt and survive in an increasingly difficult agricultural landscape. It's obvious that small-scale farmers are contributing to pollution in local water sources, but they aren't doing this on purpose. They find themselves in a tough spot, needing to use water to grow their crops and maintain their farms, sometimes stepping over the line of what's legally allowed. This isn't because they want to harm the environment, they're just trying to make a living in a situation that often leaves them few choices. These farmers take great care in how they treat their animals, allowing them to roam freely, which is better for the animals' health and well-being. This care extends beyond the larger farm animals like cows and chickens to include smaller ones such as rabbits, showing their broad commitment to the welfare of all creatures on their farms. Their efforts in creating a natural and comfortable environment for these animals deserve praise and support, not punishment. However, the current situation in Oregon paints a troubling picture. Here, small-scale farmers are being forced to shut down by harsh regulations that seem more about control than protection. This heavy-handed approach is stripping away the rights of these farmers, threatening their ability to work and survive. This isn't just a minor issue, it's a serious infringement on their lives and a disruption to the community. The question arises, why are these strict measures being enforced? It appears these rules are tailored to benefit those in power, along with their wealthy allies, rather than to protect the environment or support agricultural sustainability. These laws are cleverly designed to twist definitions to fit a certain agenda, which unfortunately results in negative outcomes for the farmers and the local community. The consequences of these policies are far-reaching. They impact the farmers and consumers who rely on these small farms for fresh and genuine food products. These actions taken by the government do not just stop at the farmers. They extend to harm the everyday people who value the quality and origin of their food. This government overreach significantly damages the community's sense of unity and shared values. It creates a divide, fostering resentment and uncertainty among community members. Watching these developments unfold, it becomes clear that these policies are skewed to serve a select few, overlooking the broader needs and preferences of the entire community. This lack of consideration for the well-being of both the consumers and the ethical integrity of locally sourced products is not only disappointing, but also alarming. It undermines the trust people have in local food systems and highlights a disconnect between government actions and the actual needs of the people. Such disregard poses a threat to the future of local farming and raises serious questions about the motivations and consequences of these governmental policies. Power shifts, making the farmer's path even harder. The battle for agricultural integrity. The way definitions are changed to fit certain agendas not only damages trust in the agricultural industry, but also threatens the survival of small farms and reduces the availability of good, fresh products for everyone. Officials in various states are paying close attention to these changes, carefully recording details and looking forward to seeing how the situation develops. As things progress, these states are ready to adopt similar policies once a clear decision is made. It's a common practice in politics. When one state introduces a bold policy, and if it isn't challenged or goes unnoticed, other states will likely do the same soon after. The impact of these decisions is substantial, as they can reshape the laws of the entire country and influence how policies are made for many years. The problem of government overreach goes beyond just agriculture. It touches on fundamental freedoms, the rights to use our own land and water. When governments overstep their limits and impose rules on how we can use these resources, they are not just overreaching, they are on the verge of authoritarian control. This doesn't only affect farmers, it impacts everyone's freedoms, limiting our ability to decide how to live and work. By setting rules on land and water use, the government reduces our independence and limits our ability to shape our own futures. Despite the challenging circumstances brought about by these intrusive measures, there is a ray of hope. More and more people are becoming aware of these overreaching practices. This awareness is crucial, as it could lead to a collective effort to resist such overreach. As more people become informed about these issues, there's hope that they will join together to protect the freedoms that are gradually being taken away. This collective awareness and potential for action offer a glimpse of hope in preserving our rights against increasing governmental control. It's become clear that the tough conditions small farmers face are finally getting the attention they deserve. There is a rising call for support for these farmers, who are essential to our communities, but often suffer the most under strict regulations. If the government truly cares about Oregon's small-scale farmers' well-being, it's time for them to act to improve things. A practical step would be to completely review our current rules, especially those defining concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. This isn't just about minor adjustments to paperwork. It means engaging with agricultural specialists, conducting in-depth studies on how the current rules affect these small farmers, and thinking about new ways to define these operations. These changes should focus on making life easier for small farmers, rather than adding more hurdles. The purpose of this effort should be clear: to amend these definitions in ways that actually help small farmers, rather than making their work harder. After all, these farmers are crucial to keeping our food systems running. Adjusting the rules to better serve these farmers not only supports them, but also protects the stability of our food supply. Decision-makers have a substantial responsibility to reduce the burden on smaller farming operations. By reassessing regulations, they can ensure fairness for all farmers, no matter their size. This reassessment might lead to the creation of more specific rules that are better suited to the unique needs of smaller farms, as well as the broader agricultural sector. Another critical area that requires attention is the stringent water use restrictions that have been placed on farmers. These restrictions severely limit small farmers' ability to water their crops effectively. Decision-makers must acknowledge that groundwater is a public resource that is crucial for the livelihood of farmers and for agriculture as a whole. By taking steps to relax these restrictions, the government would not only support the sustainability and effectiveness of small-scale farming, but also enhance food security and the economic stability of the area. Additionally, the government must provide legal and financial assistance to help small-scale farmers understand and navigate new regulations and secure the necessary water rights. By offering specific support in these areas, policymakers can ensure that farmers can comply with current laws and continue their operations, thus protecting their livelihoods and contributing to a stable and fair agricultural market. Through these actions, policymakers have the opportunity to significantly impact the well-being of small-scale farmers and the agricultural landscape. By tailoring regulations to meet the specific challenges these smaller operations face and easing the restrictions that hinder their productivity, the government can foster a more equitable and prosperous agricultural sector. This support is crucial for enabling farmers to continue to produce food efficiently and sustainably, thus ensuring the ongoing health and prosperity of the region's economy and its people. Small-scale farmers are vital to our food supply, yet they face many difficulties. The government provides assistance, which is crucial for these farmers to continue providing us with nutritious food. This support includes financial help through grants and loans, and technical advice that helps farmers adopt sustainable farming practices. Let's delve deeper into what this support means. Grants are financial aids that don't need to be paid back. They allow farmers to invest in eco-friendly farming methods and technologies. These methods often require significant upfront costs, and grants can help mitigate these expenses. Loans, on the other hand, are borrowed money that farmers need to pay back eventually. However, they provide the necessary funds to start making changes towards sustainability immediately. Technical assistance involves expert advice and support, helping farmers implement new techniques effectively. This ensures that investments in sustainable practices actually lead to positive outcomes. It's not just about giving money, it's about making sure the money is used effectively to bring about real change in farming practices. Moreover, the government's role extends beyond just financial assistance. Policies and legislation are crafted to support these farmers further. By providing tax incentives and establishing favorable regulatory frameworks, the government can make it easier for small and mid-sized farms to thrive. These policies are designed to reduce the burdens on farmers, allowing them to focus more on their agricultural practices and less on navigating bureaucratic hurdles. In addition to policy support, The government can also play a significant role in educating the public about the importance of supporting local farms. Organizing events and initiatives to promote family farms helps raise awareness about the challenges these farmers face. It also highlights the crucial role they play in maintaining local food supplies and contributing to the economy. Such governmental efforts are not merely beneficial, they are essential. They ensure that small-scale farmers can continue to operate and succeed. This, in turn, benefits everyone by maintaining a stable, healthy food supply and supporting local economies. It's about creating a sustainable system where government support and successful farming practices feed into each other, fostering a cycle of growth and sustainability. The future of many small and medium-sized farms is dangerously uncertain. They stand at a crossroads. They could either become leaders in sustainable agriculture or be swallowed up by giant agricultural companies. Here, the government has a pivotal role in shaping our farming future. Supporting these smaller farms means more than just handing out money. It's about fostering a future where family farms not only survive, but thrive. These farms do more than just grow food. They protect our cultural heritage and care for the environment. Their value extends beyond money. They are crucial for keeping a strong, healthy connection with nature. This relationship, built on mutual benefit and dependence, is especially important at a time when losing touch with the natural world is all too common. However, the hurdles these farmers face are huge. They have to keep up with large agricultural corporations and also deal with the effects of climate abuse. The necessity for government action is more apparent than ever. Without policies that support small farms, our future farming landscape will likely be dominated by a few large companies that care more about profits than our environment or communities. It's essential to understand the significant, yet often unnoticed impact these farmers have on our lives. They do more than grow plants. They maintain traditions, support rural economies, and help ensure a dependable food supply. Their efforts against today's challenges are commendable, but without increased support, their problems might grow too big to handle. This situation demands a response, not just from policymakers, but from all of society. We cannot sit back and watch as the fabric of rural life disintegrates. Supporting and promoting small to mid-sized farms is not just a policy choice, but a fundamental duty to preserve our connection to the land and each other. It's about fostering a future where the land stays linked to those who most sincerely care for it, and where our food systems remain as vibrant and diverse as the natural habitats they support. Strengthening small farms is also about empowering local communities, enhancing food security, and promoting environmental sustainability. These farmers are at the forefront of implementing eco-friendly practices that benefit everyone. By buying locally grown food, we reduce our carbon footprint, support the local economy, and often get fresher, healthier produce. By supporting these farmers, we're not just helping them, we're fighting against government overreach. This support is crucial not only for the present, but also for securing a sustainable future. When we stand with these farmers, we are defending our own rights, ensuring that they can continue their farming across generations. This isn't just about advocating for the rights of farmers. It's a broader fight for our freedoms. These farmers do extensive, hard work that benefits all of us, providing food and supporting the local economy. By backing them, we confront the growing influence of government and corporate interests that threaten to take over small farms. This is about preserving our community values and maintaining the independence of farms that have been around for decades. The role of small-scale farmers is often underestimated. They are crucial for their communities, providing locally sourced food and maintaining agricultural diversity. By opposing the expansion of large-scale industrial farming operations like CAFOs, we're not only fighting for small farmers, but also protecting our environment and way of life from being overrun by industrial giants. The government's push to implement CAFOs seems to be driven by a desire for control and economic gain, favoring large industrial operations over the sustainable practices of small farms. This shift not only endangers the livelihoods of these farmers, but also poses significant risks to both environmental health and food quality. Taking a stand against these developments is essential. It's about resisting the emergence of agricultural power and preserving the diversity and sustainability of our food systems. When we choose to support small farmers, we uphold the principles of equity and justice in our food system. Are large agricultural corporations the future of farming or a threat to food security? Share your thoughts, like this video, and subscribe for more.